The following video that you are about to view is real life and my original and unedited reactions to privates learning land navigation for the first time. I am currently secretly stalking trainees through a land nav course, and there is already a story to be told. Before we could even get started, and I could stalk these weirdos to make sure they don't get lost and that they're doing the right thing, they plotted the wrong azimuth. They used mils instead of degrees. They had to plot 60 degrees and they plotted 60 mils. They were going in almost a 90-degree wrong direction, and I had to pop out of the woods and say, "Where are you going? Are you sure? I want to double check that." The best part is that out of the group of 7, 3 of the privates did it the right way, but didn't say anything, and they were just going to go along with the crowd and get lost. Land nav story, part 2. I watched these privates plot an azimuth, and they looked like they were doing it correctly, but then I saw them go off in the wrong direction. They plotted 20 degrees, but then they went 0 degrees. And after being off of their point by quite some distance, I figured out that they had plotted the correct degree, but then just followed the north arrow because they thought that the north arrow was going to point them in the right direction, just automatically pointing in the right direction. Stalking privates during land nav part 3. Their NCO that's leading them saw them about to go through a bunch of brush and said, "Hey privates, if you want to just shoot an azimuth and have a private run up there to whatever tree or whatever point you want to mark at, and then you can kind of trudge through it real quickly so you can get through it faster, you can do that." They're like, "Okay," and then completely ignored him. Just started zigzagging through a bunch of shit and trying to reshoot their azimuth. Stalking privates through the land nav course part 4. They've been going through a bunch of shit, like a lot of brush and falling down trees and brambles and nonsense. And if we come over here about 10 feet, there's a path which they've been walking alongside for the past 200 meters, going through a whole bunch of useless brambles and trees and getting poked and wet and stupid. Oh God, this is great. This is part 5? Man, I think this is part 5 before I'm losing count. The privates are getting passed by an old lady and her labradoodle. That's how bad at land nav these kids are. Part 5 of stalking privates in the woods during land nav. They're a little lost. They think that they got their azimuth off a little bit, going through the brush and all the brambles and stuff. They think they got off a little bit. So what is their response? They stop and start yelling at that guy to shoot a back azimuth. Not to go backwards, to try and figure out where you are. Perhaps you're still lost in the fucking woods. A back azimuth is just 180 degrees that way. 90 degrees is that way. 60 degrees is that way. How the fuck does that help you figuring out where you are right now? It isn't. Start doing some fucking terrain. Oop. Oh. Look at that. Oop. Part 6 of stalking privates in the woods during land nav. They decided after all that they were going to use the path alongside the azimuth that they had shot, but they had followed it for far too long. So now they're on a path and they don't know. They're just too far away from their actual azimuth that they originally shot, which is in the middle of the woods now because they followed the path for too damn long. So now they don't know what to do, and they're still talking about a back azimuth. The back azimuth is only good if you stayed on the original azimuth, and if you're gonna go restart your actual point, you can't make it up. Part 7 of stalking privates in the woods during land nav. A female private dropped one of the only sensitive items you can possibly have on this entire land nav course, and that is the little piece of paper that she has that has her points marked on it and also the code below it to prove that you've been there. That's right. The entire point of going out to land nav is your piece of paper that verifies that you were at said points that you were given. And she dropped it and she walked away and I almost stole it and it would have been a very good day. But unfortunately, a very squared away NCO that's with them caught it and said, pick up your piece of paper so you don't fail this course. Ooh, what was that close to failing her? It was that close. Part 8 of stalking privates in the woods during land nav. On this last point, a private decided that he would round down. Instead of going 247 degrees, he would go 240 because that's close enough. And if you're wondering why I'm doing this, it's because by the time they're finished with land nav, I'll have started a fire to keep warm. Part 9 of stalking privates during land nav. They dropped a glove. It's a sensitive item. So there's 1, they're going to be missing an article of clothing. And 2, that's a learning lesson about not leaving any traces behind in the middle of the wilderness. Okay, on to the next one. Part 10 of stalking privates in the woods during land nav. They tried to do terrain association and cross a road. However, they were far too early. So I came out of the woods and I go, privates, what are you doing? We're looking for this point, drill sergeant. Okay. What's your pace count? Silence. None of them did a fucking pace count. 7 of them in a group. None of them did pace count. We did some corrective training, and then we figured out where they're supposed to be.